In the train car, Phyllis tells Chance that the dagger looks like the one she saw on Damien's back. Nick barks, "Of course it's the knife that killed Damien! Someone's trying to set him up, and we all know who that person is." Chance asks Nick not to jump to conclusions and to explain how he found it. Nick says he left Sharon's sleeping car and went back to his. In the bathroom, he noticed the sink stopper was stuck. He reached under and pulled out that bag. Chance asks if he happened to find a bottle of bourbon in there. Nick didn't. He declares that Kane is behind this. It's been his plan all along. Chance isn't following. Nick wants Phyllis and Chance to admit this is suspicious and odd. First, he didn't understand why Chance was invited. Why not hire a private security team if he thought his life was in danger? If he thought one of his guests had homicidal intentions, why invite them into his home? Chance says they can't make assumptions about who the killer was targeting. Nick thinks Kane wanted Damien dead because he had something going on with Lily. It also could have been business. He wants Chancellor, so framing him is revenge on the Newmans, or a distraction from his next move. Chance and Phyllis aren't buying it. Nick fumes. Nick keeps arguing his case as Phyllis assures him that she is on his side. She'd kill anyone who would try to frame him for murder. She just can't understand why Kane would set this up. They speculate that Kane may have known about Lily and Damien before now. Nick tells Chance about Adam coming to tell them Kane was buying up real estate in Genoa City, and that Chelsea had seen him there. He obviously has contact with the outside world. Chance is stunned that there's a way out of there. Nick says he wants to keep them trapped, so his little game can play out. Chance wants to stick to the facts. Phyllis says there's no way Kane could have planted the knife in his room. She was with him. Nick says Kane could have accomplices like that weirdo Carter. Chance tells Nick he's going to go search his sleeping car. Nick's irritated that Chance thinks he may have done this. Maybe the first thing he needs to look into is how Kane is getting on and off the mountain. Chance confirms he'll expect Kane to come clean. In the maze, Amanda chews Kane out. Oh, she needs to have all the facts. She needs the whole truth, and she needs it now. Kane thinks he has the right to remain silent. Amanda says not from her, he doesn't. Kane tells her he and Damien were just chatting. Before that, he'd never met him face to face. Amanda will need to see the security footage from the cameras on the property. Kane still wants to know if she thinks he actually killed Damien. She believes he's the person with the strongest motive. In her experience, he will do whatever it takes to eliminate the competition. Kane can't believe Amanda thinks he's guilty. She runs down all the things that make him look guilty. Kane says the bourbon and dagger are still missing. If he was guilty, why would he tell Chance what to look for? Amanda fumes that they both know he can contact the outside world. An innocent man would have called the police in by now. She has a strong suspicion that he's guilty, but that won't stop her from doing her job. Phyllis joins Amanda and Kane and makes cracks about poisoned Busus. She notices they fell silent when she appeared. That's not incriminating at all, is it? She doesn't think Kane did anything wrong. She tells them Nick found the murder weapon in his bathroom. Kane asks what he did with it. Phyllis says he did what any innocent man would do. He brought it to Chance. He's sure he's being framed and knows who's framing him. Amanda wants to know Chance's thoughts on all this. Phyllis says he just wants the facts. She says she told them Kane couldn't have planted the evidence because she was with him from the minute they left Damien's body until they found Chance. Nick thinks he had help, though. Phyllis reminds Kane when he asked her if she was willing to betray the father of her child. She never agreed to sit back while he was framed for murder. Kane suggests maybe Nick is the one setting him up. Kane says the Newmans are threatened by his impending return to Genoa City. Nick may have tried to kill him, and his aim was bad. He then put the weapon in his room to make it look like he's being framed. Phyllis defends Nick, and Amanda points out an innocent man goes to the authorities as Nick did. Phyllis thinks they need to launch a secret investigation of their own. In Victor and Nikki's train car, he's doing a crossword puzzle when his wife awakens with a start. She just had a terrible dream about their children. Victor gives her a tea to calm her nerves. Nikki shudders that the dream was so horrible and real. She tells him Victoria and Nicholas were on the edge of a massive chasm. They were calling her, but she couldn't get to them. Victor remarks that she's been worried about Victoria since they left. Nikki laments being cut off from Victoria and Claire. Victor offers to get Nick, but she says it's all right. She admits she's also worried about Chancellor. Victor vows to be Kane's worst nightmare if he comes after anyone in his family or his business. Nikki doesn't like the look in her husband's eyes. He just hates seeing her upset and worried. They'll go home soon, and she'll see that Victoria's all right. Just then, Nick knocks. They let him in, and he says he's glad they're okay. Kane made his next move, and it's a bloody one. Nick tells his parents that Damien was murdered. Up to a few minutes ago, Kane was the only suspect. He was with Damien when it happened. It turns out, however, that he's trying to frame someone in their family. It's me! He found the bloody knife used to kill Damien in his bathroom. Nikki gasps. She just had a dream that he was in trouble. Victor declares this to be an obvious setup. Nick nods. Kane has a much more compelling motive for wanting Damien out of the picture. Lily. They go over Kane wanting Lily back and her moving on with Damien. Nick thinks it's a true crime of passion. Victor muses. Maybe. It's crazy to try and pin it on Nick. Their son tells him he confronted Kane and has a quick temper. Nikki sniffs that anyone could have planted that knife in his room. Nikki wonders why Kane would do all of this. Victor says for 6 years he's been playing the long game. Now this? It seems reckless. Nick thinks if they can figure out the end game, they can figure out who's playing them. Nikki thinks they need to do it before anyone else gets hurt. In another train car, Lily cries into a tissue and paces. She looks at the bed and flashes through her history with Damien. She lays on the bed and sobs, "Damien, I am so sorry!" Moving to a chair to sip tea, Lily flashes to finding out Dumas was Kane and recalls her confrontations with him. Finally, she remembers kissing Damien in front of him. Back in the present, she shakes her head. A knock comes at her door. It's Chance, who wants to talk. They sit, and Lily tells Chance that Damien was amazing. He had secrets kept from him that upset him. He was trying to accept it all, and was actually excited about starting a new life in Genoa City. She cries, and now... Composing herself, Lily says she wants justice for Damien. Chance asks her to walk him through what's happened since they arrived. Lily says that's a waste of time. Only one person has a motive to kill Damien, and it's Kane. Chance asks when she last saw Damien alive. Lily was with him, Kane and Amanda by the maze. They told Kane they were a couple. He acted like he accepted it, but then asked to speak to Damien privately. After that, she and Amanda went for a walk. The next time she saw Kane, he was with the men carrying Damien's body. Chance asks Lily if Kane was possessive when they were together. She says he could be. Chance asks if he was violent with other men. Lily says nothing serious, but he's a different man now. Chance asks if he wanted to get back together. Lily says he did, but she told him it would never happen. She thinks that's why he killed Damien. If he couldn't have her, no one could. Chance doesn't see the logic there. Why would Kane risk everything to kill Damien? It seems less calculated than he would expect. Lily's convinced Kane did this. He killed Damien in cold blood, and he needs to pay for it. In the maze, Nick confronts Kane and fumes. "You're not going to get away with this!" Kane insists he didn't kill Damien. The knife was meant for him. Nick says he found the knife he planted in his room. Kane denies putting it there. He swears on his father's soul. Nick says Colin didn't have one. He screams at him to leave his family alone and come at him man to man. "Or trust me, you're going to wish you're the one that was dead." Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. We have to hand it to the young and the restless Kane. He's nothing if not efficient. Once Damien was, quite literally, stabbed in the back by persons unknown, Kane wasted absolutely no time in declaring him dead. Heck, he seemed almost eager to keep Phyllis from trying to revive him. And while Kane claims that he too was woozy from whatever was in that bourbon, he also says that Damien's death shocked the toxicity out of him, which is, to be blunt, suspicious. And all of this has us wondering if Kane really is behind what happened to Damien. But that doesn't necessarily mean he killed him. What if the drug that was given to Damien slowed down his pulse enough to make him appear dead? The knife could have been just a ruse to drive the point home, because Damien dropping dead while sharing a drink with Kane would just be too darn suspicious. Kane rushed to declare Damien dead, then hurried his body off to a freezer. The freezer, of course, would likely actually kill Damien if he somehow still lived. But there was one more piece to the puzzle that we caught. Kane told Carter, "You know what to do." That kind of implies that there's something more about to happen than just tossing him in the freezer. Maybe it's switching out Damien for a fake? Maybe it's just making the body disappear. Call it the Mr. Body effect. In the cult classic film, Clue, Mr. Body's seemingly shot and killed early in the film, when Professor Plum declares him dead. Except he's not dead, and Professor Plum knows it, wanting to take care of him later. Damien's an obstacle in Kane's pursuit of Lily, but he doesn't have to actually die to remove him. And if he can convince people that he was the target and not Damien, not only could his romantic rival be removed, but he could also win over some sympathy. Yeah, there's a risk in hiring Chance to investigate the murder, but it also helps Kane to look innocent and create confusion about what really happened. As Devin pointed out, it's awfully convenient for Kane to have invited Chance along in the first place. With that said, if Damien isn't dead, eventually, he has to pop up again, despite Kane's best efforts to keep him hidden away. And that would just about destroy any chance Kane has of settling back into Genoa City and Lily's life. Sadly, the only way out for him is for Damien to really, truly be dead, at the hands of someone who really did want Kane gone. The Young and the Restless, spoilers for Friday, July 18th, reveal that Audra Charles and Kyle Abbott will surrender while Sharon Newman reacts to some alarming news. Jack Abbott will also make a bold move against Billy Abbott, so here's what fans can look forward to. Since Billy is fixated on Chancellor and not giving Abbott Communications the attention it deserves, he's not keeping his end of the bargain. Jack offered up a major investment to help with Billy's new venture, but his brother isn't respecting their agreement. That's why Jack will feel the need to punish Billy on Friday's Y&R episode. Jack is about to make a bold move, so he could yank his funding or even try to take over the company. Sally Spectra struck a deal of her own with Billy, but it may fall apart depending on what Jack does next. Over with Sharon, she'll get some troubling updates regarding Nick Newman and the frame-up situation he's facing. Sharon will decide there must be something she can do to help Nick, so she'll find a way to take charge somehow on Friday's show. Next, let's talk about Kyle and Audra, since they've been getting too close for comfort on this trip. Audra and Kyle think they've got everything under control, but that control is about to slip away from them. Although Kyle and Audra have been treating this like a flirty game, things are about to get real between them. The attraction that's been building will boil over, so these former flames may kiss or even land in bed together. Will Audra and Kyle find out about Damien Kane's murder before passion breaks out? If so, Kyle may comfort Audra as she frets over how much pain Amy Lewis and Nate Hastings are going to be in. Audra's softer side could come out and make Kyle even more drawn to her, so that's something to keep in mind. Then again, maybe the Damien shocker will wait until after Kyle and Audra step into passionate territory. It could serve as a way to make Audra and Kyle feel even worse once they've betrayed Nate and Claire Newman. The Young and the Restless scoop for Thursday, July 17th reveals Lily Winters will accuse Kane Ashby of murder. Also coming up, Amanda Sinclair also thinks her client is guilty. Plus, Nikki Newman will tell Victor Newman she had a frightening dream. And Nick Newman will threaten Kane. Y&R spoilers tease, Phyllis will ask Nick if he really thinks someone's trying to set him up. "Yeah, I do," he'll reply. "And I think we all know who that person is." Nick will tell Chance Chancellor he's sure Kane planted the dagger, but Phyllis and Chance will say they don't think Kane is framing him. "I am on your side," Phyllis will add. However, she just has a hard time believing Kane would do this, but Nick will tell them Chelsea Lawson saw Kane in Genoa City. He wants to keep us all here, trapped, so his little game can play out. In the cocktail area, Kane will ask Amanda if she really thinks he killed Damien Kane. "In my experience, you will do anything it takes to eliminate the competition," she'll reply. "Are you playing me, Kane?" Kane will be stunned that she thinks he's guilty. "I have a strong suspicion that you are," Amanda will tell him. But that is not going to stop me from doing my job, making sure that no one can prove you killed Damien. Then Phyllis will walk up and tell them Nick found the murder weapon in his bathroom. Kane will ask what he did with it. Like any innocent person would do, he brought it to Chance, she'll reply. Phyllis will add she told them Kane couldn't have planted the dagger because she was with him. I appreciate you corroborating my story, he'll reply. Then Phyllis will suggest the three of them start their own investigation into the murder. Meanwhile, Victor will sit in his train car, working on a crossword puzzle. Suddenly, Nikki will gasp and sit up in bed. I just had a terrible dream, she'll tell Victor. It was about our children. Victor will say no wonder she's upset. But what Kane doesn't understand is that he'll be his worst nightmare. If he comes after any of his family or his business, then Nick will knock at the door. He'll say he's glad they're both okay. Victor will ask why wouldn't they be? Because Kane made his next move, and it's a bloody one, Nick will reply. Someone was murdered, Damien. He was stabbed in the back. He'll add Kane thinks the person wanted to kill him, but he's also trying to set up someone in their family. I found the bloody knife used to kill Damien in my bathroom. Victor will say it's obviously nonsense. Everybody knows how I feel about Kane, Nick will reply. In her train car, Lily will flash back to moments she shared with Damien. She'll start weeping on her bed. Damien, I am so sorry, she'll say. Then Y&R writers will waste at least 2 minutes of Lily flashing back to just about every scene she's had with new Kane. She'll open the door and Chance will be standing there. He'll ask if she's up for a talk. You better believe I am, Lily will reply. They'll head to the drinks car, and Chance will ask her to walk him through what's happened since she and Damien arrived. This is such a waste of time. There is only one person here who has motive to kill Damien, Lily will reply. And it is Kane. She'll say the last time she saw Damien, they had just told Kane they were a couple. Chance will ask if Kane was possessive or violent when they were together. With me, no, she'll say. He's a different man now. I don't know what he's capable of. So, Chance will ask if Kane wanted her back, and Lily will say she told him it would never happen. I think he felt like if he couldn't have me, then no one could. She'll say it is so clear that Kane is guilty, but Chance will ask why he'd risk everything and kill Damien. Look, I am convinced that Kane did this, Lily will exclaim. He killed Damien in cold blood, and someone needs to make him pay for it. Finally, Nick will run into Kane in the maze and accuse him of planting the dagger in his room. From now on, you come at me man to man, Nick will shout. Trust me, you're gonna wish you were the one who was dead. Keep reading the Soap Scoop for Young and the Restless spoilers and news, and make sure to also join our Y&R Facebook group or leave us a reply in our comments section. But if you miss an episode, don't fret. You can watch The Young and the Restless online at cbs.com. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that another death may be looming in Nice. Did Phyllis Summers just predict a second fatal twist in this exciting storyline? The show's created a messy murder mystery with Damien Kane's body at the center of it all. Lily Winters is convinced that Kane Ashby is guilty of killing Damien, but Kane insists he was the real target instead. Now Nick Newman has been set up with the incriminating dagger, so things are growing more complicated by the minute for Chance Chancellor. Chance is trying to sort through the clues and figure out what really went down. Y&R fans are eager to see where the storyline will go from here, so let's talk about some hints that Phyllis offered. We should start with an ominous line of dialogue that could point to another deadly outcome. I would kill anybody who would try to frame you for murder, Phyllis declares to Nick in the July 17th episode. That was certainly a bold statement to make, especially in front of Chance. Could Y&R be paving the way for Phyllis to indeed kill the person who framed Nick for murder? Carter is the most logical culprit out of everyone on Kane's property right now, particularly since he'd have a motive to get rid of his boss's romantic rival and distract the Newmans. At some point, Phyllis may figure out Carter is to blame for Damien's demise and Nick's frame-up situation. Since Phyllis is about to launch an investigation with Kane and Amanda Sinclair, she'll leave no stone unturned as she hunts for the truth. Phyllis could be the one to crack the case and ultimately corner Carter as the person behind it all. If that happens, Carter may not go down without a fight. Phyllis might kill Carter in self-defense if there's a face-off that brings this storyline to a dramatic conclusion. Regardless, there's still danger as long as the killer's on the loose, so we'll bring you updates on any scary news to come. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that many fans are frosty over the demise of Cole Howard just when his story had a happy ending. How tragic is it that he died so soon after reconnecting with Victoria Newman, and the daughter that was stolen from them, Claire Newman? Cole began coughing up a lung after coming home from a business trip, one arranged by Victor Newman. While out of town, Cole caught Legionnaire's disease, which initially was diagnosed as pneumonia. Victor still doesn't know about his former SIL since he is trapped on Citizen Kane's Fantasy Island reality show. Cole's death devastated Victoria and Claire, and a ton of fans can't believe that the tall and handsome character was kicked to the curb so soon. But they are holding out hope for a miracle. Miracles happen routinely on daytime. If a soap didn't regularly feature back from the dead plots, the genre would be a different animal, which is why some fans are speculating about a bizarre but not impossible plot twist. What if Jordan worked some black magic and has Cole stashed away in a dingy motel, barely breathing, but breathing nonetheless? Stranger things have happened. Cole and Victoria have a long history, decades old. In the beginning, they were young, brash, and sassy. Against the wishes of Victor, Vol began a romance that ended in tragedy. They defied Victor, and Victoria got pregnant. Before the happy family could take their baby home, Claire was stolen from the hospital by Jordan, who brainwashed her to hate the Newmans. Jordan is presumed dead, and you note we used the word presumed. No one truly dies in Soapland, so Jordan being alive is not a stumbling block to thinking that she could have stolen her nephew from the hospital and is performing life-saving measures as we speak. Jordan likes to keep tabs on GC and thrust herself into the middle of the action when the residents least expect it. She is uber sneaky and resourceful, and we put nothing past her, or the Y&R writers. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Sharon Newman may discover Carter is the killer. Will Sharon's plan to clear Nick Newman end in grave danger? Y&R kicked off a murder mystery with Damian Kane's demise, so Chance Chancellor is working hard to investigate and nail down who the culprit might be. Of course, the show's playing around with the idea that Kane Ashby may have been the intended target instead, but there's a good chance the dagger thrower indeed wanted to take Damian out of the picture. Since none of the usual key players would resort to knife throwing to get rid of someone, it makes sense that Carter is the culprit. Carter is the one wildcard in all this who's capable of anything since he's so fiercely devoted to Kane. There's a good chance Carter was trying to move a relationship roadblock out of the way for Kane, who made his desire to reunite with Lily Winters known. Now Carter may be framing Nick, who found the bloody dagger in the bathroom of his sleeping car in the July 16th episode. This may be Carter's strategy to cast suspicion somewhere else, and maybe throw the Newmans off their game at the same time. Carter may think this will work out well for Kane's other goals back in Genoa City too. Chance is already looking into things, but he won't be the only one seeking the truth in the coming episodes. Sharon will also take control of the situation somehow, and most likely hope she can clear Nick's name. It sounds like Sharon will play detective as well and do her best to get Nick out of this jam. The closer Sharon gets to the real story, the more danger she could be in. If Sharon figures out that Carter is responsible, could he decide to make her another attack victim? Carter may determine that he can't have Sharon ruining all his plans, so he could go after her and put her life on the line. Perhaps that could give Nick a chance to play the hero for Sharon in the end. Just when it looks like Sharon might face a grim fate too, Nick might save the day. Regardless, the Young and the Restless spoilers say Carter has more tricks up his sleeve, so we'll bring you updates on all the chaotic news and clues that'll surface. In the whirlwind of Genoa City, where second chances often fade before they can fully bloom, the tragic demise of Cole Howard was a particularly cruel twist of fate. His return was meant to be a chapter of healing, a quiet reunion with his great love, Victoria Newman, and the daughter he never knew, Claire. For a fleeting moment, there was a shimmer of hope that this fractured family could finally mend. His presence rekindled a long-lost warmth in Victoria and offered Claire a foundation she never had. The three of them, bound by trauma and time, were just beginning to orbit one another with a fragile intensity. And then, like so many beautiful things in this town, it was shattered. What started as a cough blamed on a business trip spiraled into a fatal diagnosis: Legionnaire's disease. Within days of finding his family, Cole was gone, leaving Victoria and Claire adrift in a sea of what-ifs. For Victoria, it was the theft of a future where she could finally reconcile her past. For Claire, it was the loss of a father she had only just begun to imagine. But in Genoa City, death is rarely a simple affair. As the shock subsides, nagging questions emerge. The illness was suspiciously swift. The cremation was rushed, with no open casket or public autopsy results. Claire, with her sharp intuition honed by a lifetime of deception, noted inconsistencies at the hospital. Incomplete records and unfamiliar staff. The closure felt too clean, too sudden. Whispers are growing louder, and they all point to one name: Jordan. Once believed to be dead herself, the master manipulator has a history of inflicting psychological torment, not just physical harm. It would be entirely in her character to stage Cole's death, allowing Victoria and Claire to drown in grief before revealing her ultimate trump card. The motive? Not murder, but control. To hold Cole hostage is to hold the Newmans' emotional stability in her hands, a far more satisfying revenge. If this theory holds, Cole may not be resting in peace, but suspended in a living nightmare, confined and sedated in one of Jordan's hideouts. This would explain the hospital's vague documentation and the unsettling feeling that something is deeply wrong. Victoria, though numb with sorrow, possesses an instinct she cannot ignore. The love story she shared with Cole was one of resilience, and that deep connection may be the first to sense he's still alive. Claire, meanwhile, has a newfound purpose. Having been robbed of a future with her father, the possibility of his survival could ignite a fire in her to uncover the truth, using the very skills of cunning she learned from Jordan against her. Cole Howard's story may not be over. In a world of faked deaths and miraculous returns, his sudden exit feels less like an ending and more like the calm before a storm. The question is no longer how Victoria and Claire will survive this loss, but when they will realize it might be the greatest deception of all. A showdown with Jordan seems inevitable, and the fate of the man they love hangs in the balance. Young and the Restless, spoilers for July 21st to 25th, 2025. See, Nick Newman is being framed, and Kyle Abbott and Audra Charles are getting down and dirty. As we always do on Early Edition Day, we're going to dive right in with what's coming the rest of this week, and then talk about what's coming next week. So on Wednesday, July 16th, Chance Chancellor gets most of the guests, or about half of the guests, I guess, into the club car to talk to them. Missing out on this meeting are Nikki Newman and Victor Newman, Lauren Fenmore and Michael Baldwin, Diane Jenkins and Jack Abbott, Audra and Kyle, and also Billy Abbott and Sally Spectra and the assistant Carter. And Nick thinks that Phyllis Summers knows what happened and why they're being gathered. She does, but she's freaking out and won't spill yet. Lily Winters suspects that Kane Ashby killed Damian Kane, but Kane insists he was drugged too, and says he was the real target. Nick and Lily both accuse Kane of killing Damian, and Phyllis says, "No, it wasn't poison. It was a stabbing that killed Damian." Kane shows the box that the murder weapon was in, but says it's gone now. And Lily freaks because she knows this is going to crush Nate Hastings and Amy Lewis. Amanda Sinclair insists that nobody else is in danger except for Kane, who agrees that the others are likely safe. Chance starts his interviews one-on-one with Phyllis, who says that she got lost in the maze and she was with Jack and Diane, but then she broke off from them and hasn't seen them since. She tells Chance the maze walls were changed around to be more confusing. Phyllis says she walked up on Kane, who was holding an already dead or dying Damian. Phyllis says neither of them touched the knife. She does not think Kane did it. And Chance wants to know if Phyllis is covering for Kane to get a job, because let's face it, Chance knows that Phyllis is a liar. Plus, she reminds him that the alcohol, glasses, and knife all disappeared while Chance was with Kane. So, that should, rationalize what she's saying and justify it. Nick tells Sharon he thinks Kane's going to try and blame Victor Newman for this stabbing, and they hope that Michael will help Victor. And then Nick and Sharon worry how this will affect Phyllis since they think she's still traumatized from the whole kidnapping ordeal. Amanda grills Kane. He insists he's innocent, but Amanda says this looks really bad for him. Kane says the drugged booze and the knife were both meant to kill him, and they wonder who did it. And Kane says Victor's, wicked, and Nick's got a bad temper. Amanda suggests that they call the French authorities and drop the lie that they're out of contact with the outside world, but he won't hear about that. Lily tells Abby Newman and Devin Hamilton this might have been her fault because she told Kane that she's with Damien now and then dead. So Lily wonders if Kane killed him and says that maybe the man who fathered her children is a monster now. Devin thinks the whole death threat thing was fake from the jump and that Kane inviting Damien was odd. Abby says she does not think Kane's the jealous killer type, and Devin wonders if there is more to Damien and Kane's past than they realize. Devin says Holden Novak said Damien had a bad temper, and they wonder maybe if he was blackmailing Kane, and Devin tells the ladies just to keep an open mind. Meanwhile, Nick flips out because he goes back to his room on the train car and he finds the bloody knife in his bathroom. He wraps it up in plastic and runs it right to Chance. Nick tells him he found it in the bathroom and thinks that he is being set up. On Thursday, July 17th, Victor is determined not to let Kane win. So, Victor may think that Kane's setting him up, or Nick's up since the knife was found in Nick's bathroom. I'm guessing Victor will get Michael involved, and Victor may try and throw all the accusations towards Kane since he was the one with Damien. So, Kane is on the defensive on Thursday, on Young and the Restless. Everybody suspects him except for Amanda and Phyllis, it seems. Accusations are flying. Actually, I think Abby doesn't really suspect him either. Anyway, his prints may be on the knife since it was his knife, but it's not like Chance is going to be able to run fingerprints from there. If he does, that's absolute nonsense. Lily may sling more accusation, and Devin seems intent on thinking Kane made up the death threat that brought Chance there. Lily gives some damaging info about Kane to Chance, and Lily may tell Chance that Kane was pushing to reunite. He was super jealous. So, right after Lily said she was with Damien now, well, he's dead, and Kane was alone with him after insisting on talking to Damien alone. So, the optics are bad. Friday, July 18th, the lines blur for Audra and Kyle. Are they going to end up in bed doing the deed? Or is this just going to be a kissing and groping situation? Damien's murder may leave them shaken and causing them to cross lines. At funerals, people get carried away, and weddings. Anytime there's a whole bunch of emotions, people do bad things. Billy gets a painful reality check from Jack. He may tell Billy the deal's off. He's not going to fund a company for Billy to have somebody else run, and needs to let go of the Victor thing. And this mess with Kane may just make it all more real to Jack that he just can't approve of a plan where he's financing Billy while he's getting involved with Kane. They're chasing after Victor. And then there's this murder thing. It's just too much. Sharon goes to extremes to help Nick on Friday. He wants to get back home to family. But Chance will likely say Nick can't go because the murder weapon was in his room. So, will Nick try and go anyway, or try and find a way to reach the outside world by phone? Go breaking into the chateau or something? The week of July 21st through the 25th, Kyle and Audra worry about what they did. We don't know yet how far they go, but obviously they've betrayed Nate Hastings and Claire Grace Newman, and they are suffering some guilt. After the passion cools off from that moment, Billy may start to spiral and may double down on making a deal with Kane. Even given the whole murder thing, he may think, "Screw Jack, I want Chancellor and ask Kane, let me know how I can help. Let's pin this on Victor because Billy would love that." Suspicions continue to grow about Kane. I wonder if there's going to be any other dangerous incidences or not. If he really is the target, then the would-be killer of Kane may try again. Amanda defends her boss against accusers. Victor remains determined. He wants out of there and tells Chance, "Call the damned cops and let's wrap this up." Kane is clearly guilty. Call the French police. Lily Winters is absolutely reeling. She's sick over the idea of having to tell Amy and Nate that Damien is dead and she's blaming herself. Obviously, insists that he is innocent, and he's going to grill Phyllis some more, thinking that she might be covering for Kane because she's questioning that partnership and she's feeling adrift. Kane's questioned about his past with Damien and what he's holding back, and Amanda again presses Kane to call in the real French police. The drama on The Young and the Restless is set to escalate between July 18th and July 25th, 2025, as Kane Ashby becomes involved in a murder investigation after Damien Kane's stabbing. In the upcoming episodes, Phyllis will stand by Kane, while Lily will get caught up in the saga simply because the victim is close to her. Meanwhile, Audra and Kyle will go a step too far in their faux relationship and agree to cover up for their actions. Furthermore, Jack Abbott will battle Billy in a dramatic struggle for control, and the case surrounding Damien will cast suspicion on an unlikely suspect. Kane Ashby will still need to be concerned about the suspicions surrounding him for the murder of Damien Kane, especially when Phyllis Summers finds him standing over Damien's bloody body. Kane will maintain his innocence, but evidence will begin piling up against him. Amanda Sinclair will formally come aboard to defend him, vowing to get him cleared of all charges. Lily Winters will find herself in an uncomfortable predicament, particularly after disclosing to Chance Chancellor that she was in a relationship with Damien. She does not want to believe Kane is capable of such violence, but the disbelief may be gnawing at her. Kane will ask her to have faith in him, and their history could play a factor in how Lily ultimately reacts in the coming weeks. Kyle Abbott and Audra Charles are in for a surprise. Following weeks of flirting, teasing, and denying themselves the temptations of passion, Kyle and Audra will finally give in to their desires. The weight of their affair will hang around their necks and hearts, especially after Kyle receives horrific news about Claire Newman's father, Cole Howard. Kyle and Audra will struggle with guilt and agree to keep their affair a secret between themselves to avoid complications with Claire and Nate. The secret will only get heavier with more complications and added concerns. The tensions bubbling at Abbott Communications will come to a head as Jack Abbott confronts Billy with a hard ultimatum. Jack will pull his investment from the company, disputing the effectiveness of Billy's leadership and lack of accountability. Jack's bold action might just set off a corporate war, one that could once again displace the Abbott family. Billy will be enraged by Jack's ultimatum, and it is not outside the realm of possibility that Sally Spectra will find herself as the unfortunate in-between in the power struggle. The panic created by Jack's ultimatum could be the foundation of a bigger shift in the leadership direction of the Abbott family business. As Chance works through his investigation, suspicions will fall on Carter, who could have been loyal to a boss so powerful that even murder was not off the cards. Carter will have the motive of protecting someone close to him, which could mean eliminating Damien and interfering in his relationship with Lily. Victor Newman, having pressured Audra to interfere in Claire and Kyle's relationship, will back off his plans and give Claire space to grieve Cole's passing. Victor will see that now is not the time to incite conflict, but his silence will be short-lived. Nick lets Kane know he'll regret any shenanigans on YNR. The Young and the Restless recap. For Tuesday, July 15th, saw Nick and Phyllis uncover new evidence in the club car, while Kane faced mounting doubts from Amanda. Meanwhile, Lily struggled with her growing belief that Kane was responsible for Damien's death, and Victor and Nikki feared for their children's safety. In the club car, Phyllis confirmed that the dagger Nick found resembled the one used to kill Damien. Nick was convinced that someone was trying to set him up, and he believed that Kane had orchestrated it. He explained that he had found the dagger under the stopper for his sink and now suspected Kane of framing him all along. Phyllis and Chance didn't fully buy Nick's theory, but Nick insisted that Kane had orchestrated everything, even going so far as to trap them in the isolated location. Chance tried to remain focused on the facts, but Nick was adamant, pointing out how odd it was that Kane didn't just hire security. Instead, he brought Chance there, possibly to set up a situation where they would all be implicated. Despite Phyllis's assurances that she didn't believe Kane was responsible, Nick remained suspicious. In the dining area, Kane spoke with Amanda, who demanded full transparency if she was going to defend him. Kane insisted he had no involvement in Damien's death, claiming he barely interacted with him. Amanda wasn't convinced, especially since Kane had the most obvious motive: eliminating competition for Lily's affections. She pushed for the security footage, but remained uncertain whether she could trust Kane's claims of innocence. Phyllis walked in, making it clear she didn't think Kane was guilty. However, she relayed the news that Nick had found the dagger in his bathroom and handed it over to Chance. Phyllis backed Kane, reminding Amanda that they had been together the whole time, which would make it impossible for him to plant the murder weapon. Kane seemed to appreciate Phyllis's support, but Amanda wasn't swayed. She questioned his actions, suspecting that an innocent man would have called the police by now. Meanwhile, Lily sobbed in her car, struggling with the loss of Damien and her suspicions about Kane. She recalled the moments they had shared and how Kane had once believed they could get back together. Now, with Damien dead, she couldn't help but wonder if Kane had killed him to remove the competition. When Chance arrived to talk to Lily, she was ready to give him her theory. Kane was the only one who had a motive. Chance, however, did not believe Kane would throw everything away on a sudden act of violence. Lily's conviction that Kane was guilty remained unshaken, even as she reflected on the complexities of their past. Victor and Nikki, while waiting for news, found themselves reflecting on their children. Nikki had a nightmare about her kids being stranded. Victor, always protective, reassured her that he would take care of Kane, but Nikki worried about what actions her husband might take in the heat of the moment. Nick filled them in on the situation, including his belief that Kane was trying to frame him for Damien's murder. Victor agreed that it was a setup, but the whole situation didn't add up. They speculated about who could be working with Kane and why the plot didn't seem to have a clear strategic direction. The tension reached a boiling point when Nick ran into Kane near the maze and accused him of planting the dagger. Kane vehemently denied it, and the confrontation quickly turned personal. Nick warned Kane that he had targeted the wrong person and threatened that Kane would regret it